So, you like to play competitive video games. You thrive off of being the best in the lobby and want whatever competitive advantage you can get, right? So you should come to no surprise that you're seeking the best game settings out there that give you the highest amount of frames per second, the most mobility, the best visibility, and the absolute quickest reaction time on the planet. This iteration of Call of Duty Modern Warfare sets itself away from the pack by being more of a twitchy, quick reaction style shooter than its run and gun predecessors, and for that reason, I've had to adapt my settings to combat this change. Higher mouse sensitivity to flick around to enemies more effectively, fewer keybinds so I don't fat finger buttons and mash my keyboard mid-fight is actually benefiting me in this release of Call of Duty. And there are many different ways to get the best settings for your computer and your playstyle. Remember that these settings may not be the best for everyone, but if you have a similar setup and playstyle, these might be the best for you, and you can use these settings as a good jump-off point to fine-tune your own settings to fit your needs. At the moment, I'm using an Intel 8700K, GeForce 1080 GTX Strix, 32 gigs of DDR4 Trident Z RAM, and the game is installed on a 1TB Samsung Evo Pro solid state. For a monitor, I'm using an MSI Optics MPG27CQ 144Hz monitor. I use the Ducky 1.2 Mini keyboard, 60%, Final Mouse, Air 58 mouse, Glorious PC Gaming G-3XL mousepad, and Audio-Technica AG1 gaming headset. I've been playing video games competitively for most of my life, and over the years, I've slowly figured out the settings I like to have as a starting point across all FPS games I play. And once I implement those settings, I'll tweak them a little bit as I go to get the best performance for the game I'm playing. Keep in mind these settings are for optimum gameplay. The more competitive you are, the less you worry about how the game looks, and the more you worry about how the game performs. Zero! I'm trying to do a video over here! Yeah, he's just yelling and screaming, I'm trying to do something! Please! Okay, sorry about that. You will see similar settings with people like Shroud, Skadoodle, and myself, because the higher your frame rate, the more likely you are to see the enemy first, and 9 times out of 10, the starter of the engagement is the winner in most Call of Duty games. So you get into that fight, you turn to them, and you're the first person to pull the trigger. Most of the time, you're going to be the one that wins that fight. I should start off by saying that these settings are for PC players and are optimized for that platform. But for all my console friends out there, Who's Immortal made a fantastic video that I'll link in the comments section that goes over the best console and controller settings. For mouse sensitivity, I started out low and gradually added about 0.5 to it at a time until I felt like I could move around with a decent pace with other players coming from all different angles and still be able to accurately hit my shots. So I've gone from probably 3 or 3.0 to 6.0, and I feel like this is a nice stopping point for me at, for now, where I'm able to move around quickly, and I'm able to spin around quickly, and still hit my shots quite accurately with this sensitivity. If you open up the advanced settings, you'll see all the different multipliers at which I've left them all at a 1-to-1 ratio so that everything feels the same across the board. If you get into a vehicle and you feel like your camera's moving around too quickly, you can bring it down a notch and see how you feel about it for the most part, but you won't be getting into too many vehicles anyway, so I decided it really wasn't worth the effort to mess with them too much. ADS sensitivity, this setting I found to be vital to get right in all FPS games. ADS sensitivity can win or lose a fight in Call of Duty since you're aiming down sights more often than not. The hip-fire accuracy in most rifles in this game is atrocious, and unless you're farming weapon unlocks, you're going to want to get this ADS sensitivity just right. You'll notice a setting in ADS that allows you to set which algorithm is used to adjust mouse sensitivity while aiming down the sights. This was a relatively new setting for me, and I did try out both of them. Legacy allows your sense to behave more like old Call of Duty titles, where it will lower your sense as you right-click for more accurate and precise shots from long range. Relative adjusts your ADS sense based on the monitor distance, with the same mouse movement. I found relative to be much more effective option for me and my 27-inch monitor because I don't like for my sense to go down too much just because I'm aiming down the sides. Players in Call of Duty come at you quickly, and they tend to move around a lot and change direction drastically depending on the skill level of your opponent. And I like for my ADS sensitivity to stay high so I can compensate for the enemy movement as well as my own to keep my crosshair on the target at all times. My multipliers are set to 1.7 in high and low. ADS sensitivity transition timing is at instant, and monitor distance coefficient is 1.33. ADS sensitivity timing tells the game when to adjust your sensitivity once you've begun to aim down sights. There is instant, gradual, and after zoom. Instant immediately applies your ADS sense as soon as you right click. Gradual ramps it up as your character model pulls the sights to its face, and after zoom applies the setting once the sights are up to your face. I've been using instant seeing as a lot of fights happen very quickly in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. With the time to kill being so low, you want to be able to accurately fight back as quick as possible. Monitor distance coefficient. This setting is for relative ADS only. This setting defines the on-screen distance where relation between mouse hardware and screen movement is constant across any zoom level. This value is automatically set to 16:9 aspect ratio, and I found that 1.33 works for me best here with my 2560x1440 monitor. Mouse acceleration, mouse filtering, and mouse smoothing are turned off as I don't want any other input besides what my hands are doing to be represented on the screen. My movement behaviors are based off the settings I use in other games for ease of transition. Slide is set to tap, crouch is hold, prone is toggle, auto airborne mantle is on, and sprint is set to hold. Weapons and equipment. Depleted ammo weapon switch switches your weapons when one is completely out of ammunition. This is a nice setting to have in case you run out of ammo mid-fight and you don't want to fumble keys to pull up your next weapon. Keep this in mind, this switches out your weapon when you're completely out of ammo, not when you need to just reload. Switch weapon minimum delay is set to 0.00. I keep this as low as possible because you want little downtime as possible when switching from main to secondary and main again, especially in a close fight. This setting allows you to switch from one weapon to another, then back again in quick succession. And I have weapon switch on mouse wheel completely turned off as this setting interferes with that anyway. Weapon switch wraparound is enabled, weapon mount activation is on toggle, weapon mount movement exit is on, weapon mount exit delay is 0, and ADS is on hold. And equipment behavior is also on hold since you want to be able to let go at any moment's notice to fight back if need be. And now for the real meat and potatoes of this video, general and graphic settings. Field of view, I have field of view on all FPS games set to the absolute maximum. This is a habit derived from Counter-Strike stretch resolution players, so it allows to see more in your peripheral vision and helps limit tunnel vision while fighting. I also have ADS field of view set to affected so that I can see more of what's going on around me while I'm ADS. My brightness is set to 50, and I haven't really messed with my brightness too much as some maps have horrible sun glare and some other maps are really shady and have terrible shadowing. I feel like about half of the way is the safe space where these two things don't affect me so much while I'm in game. My display mode is obviously set to full screen. Some people like to have, some people have more success in windowed full screen, but I have seen higher frames in full screen than anywhere else, so I keep all of my FPS games on full screen. Render resolution, this is dependent on what GPU and CPU you are using. So far, I've had the most success at 100. This brings my frames up at the cost of the overall look of the world. I can see this being something that you would want higher, and if you have a better video card than I do, it would benefit you to have this higher than lower. But like I said before, this is all preference at this point. My aspect ratio is set to auto, VSync is set to off, custom frame limit is unlimited, SDR color space is 2.4, BT 1886, texture resolution is normal, texture filter anti-sotropic normal, particle quality is low, bullet impacts are enabled, tessellation near, shadow map res normal, cache spot shadows are off, and cache sun shadows are off. Most of the time, I will turn shadows completely off in any competitive first-person shooter because I don't want any kind of interruption in where I am looking, and people can hide in shadows quite easily if you have them turned on. Particle lighting is set to normal. DirectX ray tracing is off because I do not have a ray tracing card. Ambient occlusion is off. Screen space reflection is off. Anti-aliasing is off. And depth of field is also off. And for those that do have ray tracing cards, I would suggest that you keep ray tracing off anyway because it will lower your frames per second unless you're playing in single player mode where you don't really mind it looking better at the cost of your game's performance. Filmic Strength. I have that turned off, and the Filmic Strength adds a grain around the sides of your sights while you're ADSing and can limit your ability to see beyond the scope if it's turned on, leading to tunnel vision. Where this may feel more realistic, keep in mind this is a game, and we want to be able to see as much of the world as possible to get as much information as possible while we play. World and weapon motion blur is off. Motion blur in all forms and all games will make it harder to see distant enemies, and I recommend keeping this option off as well. And just like Filmic Strength, Film Grain adds a slight pixelation to the game world and can distort faraway targets. This setting is best left off so it's easier for you to identify targets at a distance. Audio. Master volume is set to 100. I want to be able to hear everything. I want it to be as loud as possible, and I want it to be as clear as possible, so my master volume is always set to 100. Music volume I set to 15 because I don't need the music volume. I don't need the alerts with the music blaring down my ears while I'm trying to listen. I would rather that be low, as well as dialogue volume set to 15, because I don't need someone screaming down my ear the entire game while I'm trying to listen for footsteps and gunshots and what direction people are shooting from. My effects volume is set to 100. Your effects volume is your footsteps, your grenades, your gunfire, all those different things, and if the higher it is, the more accurately you'll be able to decide which way something is coming from, or which way someone is, or which direction someone is shooting at you from. Juggernaut music I have enabled, but I don't really use the Juggernaut, so it doesn't really matter if it's enabled or not enabled, because in the Juggernaut, you're a Juggernaut, and it doesn't really matter. Hit marker sound effects are set to Modern Warfare. I haven't tried the other hit marker sound effects, mainly because they're hit marker sound effects and they don't really affect gameplay either way. And that concludes my video on the most effective competitive Call of Duty in-game settings. For future videos and updates about Call of Duty in general, any other first-person shooter game I might be taking part in, hit subscribe with the bell turned on, so you know whenever I make a fresh video for you guys, and go over to twitch.tv/Nismospoolin to check out when I'm live. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, don't forget to like the video and leave a comment, share it with your friends so our channel grows, and have a fantastic day.
Take a chance, live your life for just one night, no looking back. 'Cause tonight will make it right, and I can't tell you, you have to see. Let me show you, I'll set you free. A world unknown, pure ecstasy. No looking back, just come with me. And I